Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Meeting the Makers series. And today we've got the lovely Kate Stevens from PixieKDesigns. How are you, Kate?
I'm well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining in. It's great. We've had some lovely discussions, so we're looking forward to getting to know a little bit more about you. So, Kate is actually one of my creative design team members, so it feels really lovely to meet you in person, virtual person. So we've
Really
only ever spoken via email, really, haven't we? So,
yeah.
But you can also find Kate on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Etsy. Is there anywhere else, Kate, that we can find you?
No, that's all I can handle.
That's all you can. More than enough.
I struggle with that.
Yes, more than enough. So we'll put all your details down below so that everyone can go and follow you and check you out. So Kate does beautiful journals. So I've got my eye on a couple that you're doing at the moment, actually.
So many people have enjoyed those. It's amazing.
Yeah, with everybody else. Yeah, I'll have to. What time are you putting them up? No, I'm only joking. Do I get preferential treatment? No.
Sure.
So, to start off with, Kate, did you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Kate. I live in New Zealand, in Hawke's Bay, which is on the east coast of the North Island of New Zealand. We live on a beautiful big section that goes down to the ocean, and we love living by the sea. We feel very fortunate to live here, except for recently. Some of you will realise that we had a cyclone in February, and so that made us a little less fortunate with the flooding and the sea coming over and flooding our place, but not our house, thankfully. I'm 55, just turned 55, and I have 4 daughters.
Last weekend.
Thank you. I have 4 adult daughters. The youngest is 21. 2 live in Auckland, which is north of here, about a 6-hour drive, and 2 live in Australia. I have 3 granddaughters, and we're a bit of a joke in that we don't have any boy. We have no boys. So we're still waiting for a boy. Yeah, but we love our girl gang. What else? We have 2 dogs, 2 cats, 3 chooks, and I have an amazing supportive partner called David, who has no understanding whatsoever of what I do, but he's very supportive and a bit of an enabler as well, as far as collecting the vintage kind of things. So I'm very lucky. I'm a trained midwife, but I don't practice anymore. I, for various reasons, resigned. It'll be coming up 5 years ago. Wow. And I was planning on going back, but I never did. So it was a beautiful career. I was a midwife for about 20 years, and I loved it. Yeah. But I burnt out quite badly. So I'm not going to go back to that probably ever again. But now I make journals.
Which are lovely, absolutely lovely. So I love your use of vintage papers and your lace and all your florals. It seems to be, would you say that that's a style of yours?
Yeah, I was thinking about my style. I think it's still developing, and I can sometimes be highly influenced by Instagram and other artists, which used to bother me, but now not so much, because I feel like maybe you go down that little path of someone else's style and you play around with it and you go, actually, no, they're amazing at that, but I'm rubbish at that. And you kind of veer back. But yeah, I love anything that's botanical, or particularly floral. I love laces and hand sewing, and the whole vintage vibe. I really do like that. But I think my style is pretty eclectic as well. Sometimes I can go, oh, I'm just going to go down this path and try a journal that looks a bit like this, and it might be a little bit different. I asked my sister, do I have a style? She goes, oh yeah, you definitely do. But sometimes it's just hard to put your finger on what it is. And I think it is developing, because I haven't really been doing journaling for a long time.
How long have you been doing junk journaling for?
I was trying to work that out. I think I made my very first junk journal in 2019. So it is 4 years. And that was following something that Nick the Booksmith did. And I went back on my Instagram and said, I've just fallen down a rabbit hole of junk journaling, and I don't think I'm ever going to find my way out of it. So I think it was
you are 4 years
just falling in love with this whole kind of thing. And since then, I've just had to, I've done a few of Nick the Booksmith's courses. I think Tracy Fox was a really early influence for me. And then I discovered YouTube and all the artists and Instagram, and it was just like, wow, it was amazing.
We're so lucky, aren't we, with the all the social media accounts that we can access now. And going back even maybe 10 years ago, there wasn't, that it wasn't as prevalent, I don't think. I love Instagram for that fact that it's so visual, and you can scroll, and it's more of a visual platform anyway, isn't it? So you can see something you like, and then you can delve deeper. You can just scroll past. I love that, and I love that you haven't put yourself in a box as well, because we always learn. There's something to learn all the time, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, so much.
Yeah. There's so many different styles that I'd like to try, and I'm sure I will at some stage, but the same thing, I keep reverting back to botanical and nature themed journals. So even though it's probably not so much a style, it's just a theme or something that we like to do. I get that, but I can't wait. I just want to learn more and more and more and more. Need 24 more hours in the day, I think, for us to be able to do that. So, Kate, was there anyone in particular? I know you touched on a few names just then that started you in your junk journaling journey.
Actually, there is, and it's not anyone that anyone would know. It's a story that kind of goes back a little bit. I'll try and be quick, but I was introduced to paper crafting through a really good dear friend of mine called Barb, who I've known since I was like in my early 20s. And I went there to visit from Auckland to Rotorua, and she said, "Oh, have you heard of scrapbooking?" I went, "No, sounds really lame." And she goes, "No, you're going to love this. This is great." And she took me along. She goes, "I'm going to take you to this class." I said, "I've got no photos," or she goes, "Doesn't matter. I've got some photos," because, we're old family friends. Went along to this class, and I think is it Creative Memories? Was that one of those really early, cut your photos into circles and triangles? We did this class, and I was like, not really sure about it. But then the next day she got all her scrapbooking stuff out and said, "Have a go," and I had a play. And that was my first sort of foray into that kind of thing, and I loved it. And I have done scrapbooking. I did a lot, and then I had a break. And then when I started crafting again, probably about 2018, after a long break, I was making cards, and it was Barb. She said, "Have you heard of junk journaling?" I went, "No." She goes, "You should look at that. You'd really like it." So actually it was Barb who, again, sort of went, "Try this," pushed me in this direction. But Nick the Booksmith probably was the first person I kind of stumbled across, probably on YouTube. And I did some of her courses on Teachable, and then Tracy Fox as well. Early on.
Both amazing artists, aren't they?
Oh, very much so.
So tell us, in what way does being creative affect your daily life?
In a few ways. Like I said, I'm really fortunate because it's sort of the thing I do. You have this dream that maybe you'd be able to make money out of making things, but no, not so much. But I'm lucky enough to be able to do it as, I guess, a job sort of thing. Like, I make journals and I do sell them. I've always been sort of had a creative bent, and I feel better when I'm doing something creative. The other side of it is sometimes I feel pressured because I feel like I've set myself these goals or these ideals, and sometimes I get into a stressy kind of place where I'm like, I have to get this done. And David's like, "There's no deadlines, Kate. Just enjoy it. Just make it." oh, but what if it's not good enough and I put it up, I've got to put it up on Instagram and show people, there's that whole underlying kind of anxiety or nervousness or lack of confidence around that. So that's how it affects me. But honestly, I love it. Even on a day where I'm feeling a little bit like stressy, I still, at the end of the day, love making things. And even if it's just sorting out my stuff, like looking at things I just love it. I feel really quite passionate about it, which is I guess it's a bit weird, but I just do.
I understand fully. And a lot of the creators that I've already spoken to, they feel exactly the same way. They have to be doing something every day, whether it's, like you say, just sorting through your supplies, tidying up, sticking scraps to cardboard, or they've got no interest doing something. It's just, it's like therapy though, isn't it, really?
Oh yeah, it has been very much so for me. Yes. Yeah.
And especially with your studio, so one of the questions I was going to ask, do you have your own space? So you have your own studio, so and unfortunately it got flooded, which would have been hard for you.
Yeah, it was. I'd been in it for 2 months, and it's sort of downstairs from the house, but it's outside off the garage, and it's not a fancy space, but it was starting to become a bit of a junk room. It had a spare bed in it, so people sometimes slept down here, and it was like, I said to David, I want to use that space for me, and so we ripped into it, and then I don't know, things just happened, and it stayed just with no jib, and just the bats falling out, and the doors had been taken off, and I was like, that studio's never going to be finished. I don't know why we started it, but then it did. And then 2 months after I moved in, we had the big flood. So we saved all my things, except for the furniture, basically. Yeah. So I hadn't bought a whole lot of new furniture because I wanted to see how the space worked before I sort of set it up with new furniture, but I did put a brand new kitchen unit in it, and that had to get thrown out, so that's a shame. And I have to say, I miss my sink. So having running water down here and a sink.
I bet you do, because you'll have to go outside to the tap or upstairs.
Yeah, upstairs.
Oh, that's a shame. But, good on you for not giving up and rebuilding, and you've got your space back again now.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I am so aware of how fortunate I am. It's really, I've done crafting on the table, in a tiny room, on the floor, and I feel really fortunate and lucky to have this space. Yeah,
I'm good on you. And it's your haven, really, isn't it? It becomes somewhere where you can escape and just get lost. I know I could sit in my studio or my workroom. I call it my workroom because it's a mess. I could just sit in there. Well, I do pretty much all day. Every spare minute I'm in there doing something. I love it. I couldn't think of anything else. So so touching on your journals that you do you have a particular process that you go through when you're creating a journal? Like, do you factor anything into starting your journals?
It really depends on what the project is. So sometimes I'll be led by a theme. So I'll go, I really want to make I made a toadstool botanical journal. I made 2 of those actually a while ago. And so then the process was collecting all the images. And I have started off not in the past using a lot of digitals. I was very much using book pages, tea-dyed papers, images from books or things like that. And I have slowly become more adept at printing out and using digitals. So that might be the theme that leads me, or it might be a book cover, or it might be something I saw. Like these last little ones I've been made are very much inspired by Rhonda from A Little Bit French, who does these amazing, beautiful, very neutral journals that are made with old French, very old book pages and documents. And I don't have a lot of that stuff, but that was the influence. And I just started folding some papers, and I thought, oh, that'll be cute. And then I found a cover that fitted, or I made a cover actually, and that's how that one developed. So I'm kind of thinking, maybe no, I don't have a process. Sometimes it'll be the book, the cover, or the theme, or some ephemera that I've got. Or I used to decorate everything before I sewed in my signatures. Now I do a little bit of decorating, but mostly I decorate once the book is so is sewn together, because I feel I can get a better flow or feel for how the journal will be.
I decorate very minimally, and then I bind the journal, and then I can decorate, because it all makes sense then, and flipping through it.
So that's something that's changed. Yeah.
So do you keep a journal yourself? Do you write in a journal?
Look, I used to keep a journal religiously in the past, and a diary as a young girl. I am very sporadic. I have a journal sitting here that I made for myself, and I've done like 2 or 3 pages. I do Junk Journal July and Junk Journal January with Meg from Meg Journals. And every month I go, right, this is going to get me going, and I'm going to get really, not so much. But I do have journals that I keep, and it is something in the future that I really want to develop, a journaling process or habit. Yeah.
I think it's certainly it's good for mental health, and just repetition is just continually trying to do it. But I think too, we get all caught up in that. I know I'd start a journal, or a diary, a notebook. I always start in January, beginning of January. I'm going to do this for the rest of the year. Halfway through January, like the days, 2 days go by and I better do something, and then it becomes a week, then it becomes a month. So then I just I don't get rid of it, but I put that book back in the cupboard, because I'm like, oh, well, I haven't done it every day. But I don't think it's something that we need to do every day either.
No, not at all. And I think that's something I've really learned, is there's the junk journal making, but also there's this journaling community, junk journalers, and I've learned so much from that. And the art journalers, well, I'm not artistic at all. I wouldn't consider myself to be an artist or artistic. I'm a maker, I think. Anyway,
I disagree with
you there. Titles are very difficult.
We won't go into that, but you are definitely a journal artist. You are.
Oh, thank you. That's kind. But I have forayed a little bit into that mixed media art journaling, and I'm just so rubbish at it, and it makes me laugh now. But what I've learned is, you don't even have to do it in order. I think I'm a Virgo, and I have this kind of if you believe in that kind of stuff, but I am typically I like to be ordered, and if I have missed a day, you're right, it's like, oh, well, that's just ruined the journal now, I can't possibly go back to it. But that whole freedom of going in and just picking a page and then just putting in photos and stuff. And I think my scrapbooking background, I really love the memory keeping. I love the photos, and I love going back and looking at some of those scrapbooks and seeing the kids when they were small and remembering things. And I kind of want to try and put some time in my week where I still do that, because I like going back, even if no one else ever looks at them. I like going back and looking at them. So.
Well, I've got it's back here. I've got that's how I used to do the 12-inch scrapbooking, the 12-inch page.
Yeah.
And I've got, I don't know how many albums I've got, but they're all in storage now, because we've got nowhere to put them.
Right.
So, but I still like to do the memory keeping and the photos. So I do them in junk journals now.
Yeah.
So just a smaller version.
Right. Yeah.
And I actually, I've never really been one to scrapbook chronologically. I think I probably create by mood, really. So I tend to, and I think when I'm free like that, and I think if you find you're saying about your mixed media and just picking a day or picking a page, I think the artists or the creators that tend to do that, I think they tend to, what am I trying to say? They make it a regular practice, because they're free. They're not stressing like you or I, thinking, well, I've missed a day, I need to get rid of that journal now, I can't write in it or whatever. So it all goes back to just doing, doesn't it? Just sit down and do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy how we are so hard on ourselves.
Yes, definitely.
So speaking of themes and trends, that sort of thing, have you seen anything in particular that's really taken your fancy in the junk journaling community that you'd like to give a go?
I think, using more of the old papers and documents. I think, Rachel from Roxy Creations, she's someone I do watch her videos when I can, and I just love reusing things. And so that is something I want to try and incorporate a little bit more into my journals. I mean, I always have, but I think I started getting a lot more caught up in the whole digitals, which certainly have their place. I love them. And I mean, I try not to go on Etsy because it's just, it doesn't seem expensive at the time until you realize
yeah,
just
I'll have to admit, I'll make a confession. I'm a digital aholic. I get, it's ridiculous, but I buy them, I love them, I print them out, and then they sit there.
Yes.
I mean, that's not the whole idea of buying digital art, like printing it out. I need it. Yeah. I didn't get that memo though.
It's nice to have them. It's just trying to remember that you've got them. But yeah, I do love the digitals very much, but I do want to use my old things that I have managed to collect. They're not super old. They're not like 1700s book page like what Rachel has, but incorporating that. The other thing with trends and themes and things like that, what I have found, and I think it might have been like last year and the beginning of this year, I spent a little bit too much time looking at what other people were doing, and I got to a point where I was like, I can't do anything. I can't do any of that stuff. Either because I don't have those things, or I'm just not, I can't do it. I'm not clever enough or whatever. And so it became more of, instead of being an inspiration, it became a sort of a bit of a roadblock for me. So I had a period of time where I stopped looking and started going back and looking at my own things that I'd made in the past, some of which I'm never going to do that again, but some of which I was going, I really liked that. I really like what I did. I think I could redo that again and change it a little bit or reuse it. And so that has helped me sort of get back to creating a little bit more confidently, because I'm not constantly comparing myself to other beautiful, amazing artists that I see on the daily on the social media. So I think, they do say comparison is a bit of a thief. So that's something that happened to me for a little while, but I seem to have got control of that now. I think once you pinpoint what the problem is, then you can go about solving it, can't you? If it's something sort of blocking you.
But that's a good idea, with going back and looking at what you've created, and it sparks inspiration again, because you forget that you did this or you did that. And Marley's we had on recently, and what she does when she gets stuck is she gets journals and tags out, and she just puts them all out on the floor, all on a floor in the studio, and just has a look through them, and then it just sparks interest, and she starts. So I'm very guilty of just putting my journals, if I have ones I make for myself, in a cupboard, and then that's it. They stay there until I start journaling in them. So it's a good point though. Go back and revisit what you've already done. I like that idea. That's great. So do you have any tips or tricks for fellow creatives that might help them on their creative journey?
I think that one, not comparing yourself to other artists or creators, to have your own, to stick to your own. David says to me, you need to stick to your knitting. In other words, find something you're good at and you love and stick to it. There's no shame in that. There's no problem with that. Don't be going, oh, that person's doing this amazing thing, maybe I should try that, because it becomes so huge, the options. Don't be afraid to fail. I've lived a lot of my life with quite a strong fear of failure, and it's quite debilitating. And not being afraid to fail, just get in there and try something. And if it's a mess, it's a mess. It can go in the bin, or you can fix it, or whatever. I've thrown some things in the bin because they were just ugly. They were terrible, but it doesn't matter. I had fun making it, and I learned something. So I guess don't be afraid of failing.
It's the only way we learn, isn't it? That's the only way we learn is by failure, really.
Yeah, often. Yes, absolutely.
So you've got your YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, Etsy. You've got a lot going on. How do you communicate with your community? Is it mainly one platform in particular, or do you communicate through all of them?
Mostly it would be Instagram. I think that's been my main platform because that's what I knew, and that's kind of what I'm not very good at the technical kind of stuff. So everything I've done, I've had to learn by Googling it.
Yeah.
Or asking one of my daughters. So she's been quite helpful. So Instagram was doable. I already had a private Instagram that was just family stuff. So I set one up, and it was still photos and that worked. So I really focused on that. The YouTube thing started later because I decided, maybe I should try filming my journal so I can remember what I did. So that's how I first started that. Honestly, my phone was like balanced on a shelf, and oh my gosh, some of my early videos, I thought about taking them down, and then I thought, no, I'm going to keep them up there because they're part of the journey, the learning. So YouTube has sort of been on the back burner, but actually this year I really wanted to concentrate a little bit more on my YouTube channel. But I do find the YouTube harder.
Yeah.
I love it when I've done a video, and I love it once I've started and I'm recording, but the leading up to that, there seems to be, I just get nervous, or I'm not prepared enough, but I edit my videos as well, so it takes a long time to put a video up.
It does. And I didn't know how to edit. I've really known how to edit in the last probably 12 months. And one of my boys taught me, and because otherwise my videos would be 5 hours long. It's just because I fiddle around stuff around so much, and no one wants to see that. But it's good now because I can just put the camera on, and because I'm always getting interrupted. Either my husband or my daughter or my son come down, they always want to, so I just, I can talk to them and then just cut all that out. So it makes it a lot easier. But I only know very basics, but it certainly helps. But I still get really nervous. I've got to take deep breaths and, psych myself up every time I do a video. I don't think it gets any easier. I really don't.
I'd like to be more regular with my videos. They're a bit sporadic. I'll have a burst where I'm really organized. I'm doing all these videos. And then I'll have this little kind of sort of break where there's sort of nothing. And I think, that would be one of my goals, is to get, even if it's just 3 a week. I don't really want to do them every day.
No.
I just take my hat off to the artists who do video material every day.
Yeah.
But I would like to that would be a goal, to become more regular on YouTube. That would be good.
Yeah. Well, we love you. Well, I love your videos anyway, personally. I love your craft and your chatting. So you, in some of your videos, you've shared some beautiful vintage finds that you had. So do you frequent markets and that? Do you have vintage markets in New Zealand where you are?
No, we don't, but I did discover a place in Auckland called Junk and Disorderly, which is a big shop.
I follow them on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
they're amazing.
Full of, and there's not that much paper kind of orientated stuff there, but every now and then there is. So every time I go. What I discovered was, and it took me, I don't know why it took me so long, they have a flea market called Central Flea every second Sunday. And now that's definitely worth going to, and I've found some great things there. Other than that, it's op shopping. I've been sent, I am very lucky. Barb, that same friend, she op shops often and sends me things. My sister's an amazing op shopper. She sends me things. And I have other people who send me things, which is just amazing. It blows me away that people share these beautiful vintage things with me. But yeah, I do pop into the op shops here, but Hawke's Bay, not so great. We have this Art Deco city, and so vintage things are quite valued here, and so they're very expensive. Even in the op shops, you'll go in and there'll be a doily for like $8, and I'm a bit stingy. I'm just like, no, I'll pay $3.
Yeah,
there's certain things I'll pay lots of money for, and there's certain things where I go, no, just walk away. That's too much. Yeah, so.
Yeah. So is there anything in particular that you really keep an eye out for when you go op shopping? Is there something in particular that you really, love to collect?
Yeah, it would be sort of genuine vintage and antique lace. It's really hard to come by, and I have got a little bit, and I was actually saying to Jo, my sister, the other day, it will be the one thing that I probably will run out of because I've started using it. I've been hoarding it, and some pieces, when I get to the last piece, I put it in one of my own journals to keep.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because it's so hard to come by, and often there's a story about how you found that piece. But yeah, those are the things, like if I ever see anything like that, I just grab it. And I probably have paid a little bit more, but I don't mind because I know that it's just hard to find.
Yeah. And I was going to, before you even said it, I was thinking, you should put some in your own journal just so that you've got a little snippet of it. So
yes.
That's a really good idea. But I mean, why do you buy? Sometimes I ask myself, why do you buy this stuff? And then you just sit on it and you hoard it. Like, why?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Why do we do that?
Yeah, because they are treasures to us, aren't they? They're really treasured pieces. They have the story, and also there's, I guess, this fear that because they're sort of an individual piece, you'll never find it again. But then, does it really matter? You'll find something else, and
there's always something, isn't there?
Yeah, and my kids are going to throw all this stuff away, or David will if he outlives me.
Yeah,
it'll all get burnt or biffed, and so that's the thing that motivates me often is use the beautiful stuff. Don't use the sort of stuff that you kind of like. Get rid of that and use the stuff that you love, and that does help your creativity as well, because you use this beautiful piece of paper or lace or fabric, and it's like, it is exciting. I love it when I get myself to that point of using it. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I always say that my kids will probably just have a bonfire. They'll just put it all on. They have a great big bonfire and it'll be gone.
Oh, my gosh.
I dread to think it, but they say they wouldn't. But I think they would. But anyway, we're not going to know about it, are we, when we go?
That's right, so it's all good.
So use it.
They can do whatever they want.
You should enjoy it. Can you tell us a memorable experience or story shared by one of your customers or subscribers regarding their journaling or creative journey? Has anybody shared something with you?
Yeah, I've had a few really beautiful and moving communications. I think there's a couple that stand out. One is a friend of mine who I lost touch with. She was a midwifery student with me, and she ended up in Australia, unbeknownst to me. I got divorced, so my name changed. We couldn't find each other. And then we did find each other, and she asked me to make a journal for her mum, who was in the early stages of dementia, but kept a diary every day. Wow. And so I made her a journal. And I don't know, it was really special, and just knowing that she was writing her daily sort of things in there. And then she actually wrote me a letter to thank me. And, you don't often get letters in the post, so it doesn't seem that big a deal, I guess, when I say it out loud. But to me, it meant so much to me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And the other one was a couple, Kimberly and Charlotte, so mother and daughter in the US, who wrote me a long letter saying how they'd found me on YouTube and watched all my videos, and it made me cry when I read it, because sometimes I do a video and I go, who even watches this, and why, like, why am I even doing this? And then I got this letter and I said to David, that's why I do it, because sometimes you might reach someone and you might connect, even though you don't know that you've done that. And so that meant a lot to me, because the connecting with people and the community is by far the most important thing to me. And my goal would be to try and create a creative sort of community in New Zealand, because we're quite, even though we're a small country, we're quite far apart. I don't know anyone. I know one other person who makes journals in Hawke's Bay, but there seems to be this little kind of barrier between us, and I don't know why, but no one meets together or anything like that. So that's what I'd like to somehow create, this really nice creative community around junk journaling specifically. And there's quite a few people. It's just finding them.
Finding them and getting them to commit. I've been doing, I call it junk journaling get together once, the third Saturday of every month. We have a group of ladies that get together, but, and life gets in the way. I understand that. And, everyone's busy and they have different things to do, but it's just getting harder and harder to get people to commit to coming, got to try and find, you have to rent a space and pay for that and, all that sort of thing. But, I just love that community aspect where everyone's like-minded, they get together. Not much gets done, I must say. We have all our stuff out, but we chat. But isn't that what it's all about as well? It's just talking and you get to know people. And I love that. It'd be good to start something, so I hope you do. We'll give a call out to all the New Zealanders.
If anyone's watching. I thought I think the goal, maybe an email list. I kind of trying to get in my head how to do it, because everything I think to do, it's probably been done before, but I don't know. And so it's like, an email list. And then I thought a retreat would be cool. But,
that'd be lovely.
It's like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. I did one last year. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. I hosted one last year. So I think all the ladies had a good time. So that's good. But, retreat. Oh, that'd be nice. Retreat in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Might keep that in mind. So where do you find your inspiration? I mean, we've already touched a little bit on this question for your creation. So where do you find inspiration? So you said you find it from Instagram or whatever, or just from your supplies?
I do. But also, like, maybe you're reading a novel. Like, there's one book I've just read, and it's just sparked this whole thing of, I want to make a journal, kind of not based on the book, but based around some of the themes, and it would make an amazing junk journal. And so I've got that in the back of my mind. So that inspired me. I don't know, some artwork or some packaging or just anything really. But definitely seeing other people and the work that they do. Sometimes a product, like a crafting product, might be inspiring, and you go, I could use that to make this, or But I think Instagram and YouTube are probably my main ways.
And like you say too, that can be a hindrance sometimes. So get so overwhelmed by it. But I think we all could do with just looking through our supplies that we have and moving some things around, and that you always find something you forget you've got, don't you? So we all lose our mojo at some point, and it's so frustrating. Do you just go with it, or is there anything in particular that you do to get that inspiration flowing again?
Yes, I've sat at this desk, or not this particular one, and just cried because it's so frustrating. Just out of pure, just come on,
what am I?
Often one of the things I do is, like you said, I get out some cardstock and I just get my scraps and I just glue them and do collage, because I think, well, they're scraps anyway, and if it turns out good, I'll use them, and if it doesn't, it doesn't matter, and at least I'm doing something. And I think it's that whole thing about inspiration, is it Picasso? Inspiration will come, but it must find you working. So even if you're just, I don't know, folding bits of paper to make a signature, or like I said, tidying, and often cleaning up, like reorganizing will help me. If I let things get too messy and too chaotic, I can't. I think that stops me being creative. While I'm creating, my desk becomes just carnage. There's stuff everywhere. But in between, if I start going, oh my gosh, I have to sort things into piles or clean up and restart. So cleaning up or reorganizing. And again, that's like going through your things, isn't it? It's like, oh, old wallpaper that I just forgot that I had. You know? But I think it's just knowing that it won't be gone forever, because I think the first time it happened to me, and it's happened to me lots, was just like, that's it, I'm never going to make anything again. And I did. I packed everything away and didn't create for a long time. So now I just know that something will happen. It might be a month, it might be a week, it might be 6 months, but if you just keep plugging away, suddenly things will flow again. So it's tough.
It's horrible. I think the more we do, though, it's the same thing as, that daily practice of journaling or whatever. The more you do that, the routine, what do they say? It's like 2 weeks to form a habit or something. So, the more you create, even if it's doing scraps to cardstock, it sparks. Well, while you're doing, I know I do, while I'm doing that, my brain's sort of thinking of different things, and you look at papers differently and whatever. So instead of sitting there stressing about it like we do, not doing anything, we just need to get in and do it, don't we?
Yeah, exactly.
So we talked about your studio before. So you've got a beautiful studio there. So it's detached from the house. Do you find that I've always wondered, just out of interest, if I had a studio that wasn't in the house, would I actually go out there as much as I think I would? Do you find that
that's a really good comment, because I came down here and I used part of it when the double bed was down here and we had guests and things, and I set up and I hardly ever came down. So then I moved everyone. David went away, and while he was gone, I moved everything up into the tiny little bedroom upstairs, because I thought, I'll use it more. And I did use it a lot, but I grew out of it. It just wasn't big enough for all the stuff that I've accumulated. And also I was working at that stage, shift work, and shift work can be a bit of a killer of doing anything useful in your spare time, especially if you're doing a lot of night shifts and things. So now I treat it like a job. So I'll do whatever I need to do in the morning and try and do, house stuff, other stuff. And then I come down and I try and work down here, like work or whatever. Sometimes it'll involve a lot of just staring out of the window.
But you're in your space.
But I'm in here and I'm trying to make stuff. So it's really good. But I don't spend so much time here in the evenings. I don't like being down here. I don't get scared or anything. It just feels a bit lonely, and also antisocial, because David's, he's up in the house. So in the evenings I don't tend to do anything down here.
Yeah. I just was interested because I always love the idea of having, like a she shed or whatever, a space. And I just wondered, if I ever did have the opportunity to have that, how often would I use it if I had to go, out of the house? But I think if we're passionate about what we do, we probably would just make a point of doing it. And I like your idea of, you treat it as if it's a job as such. So you come down in the morning and, you make a point of doing it. So that's forming that habit again as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So with you making stuff, you're having an Etsy release. I'm just not sure, when is that happening? Because I'm thinking this might actually go up after that happens.
Yeah, it does. It will have happened. Hopefully it will have happened, because it's supposed to be, I thought, my Etsy shop's been empty for a while. I'm very, very slow. I don't make things fast. I'm very slow, and I'm trying to streamline some things so that I can create a little bit faster. But at the same time, I don't want to rush something and not be happy with it, especially if then someone's going to buy it. And I still can't actually fathom that someone actually purchases my journals. So that still kind of blows my mind a little bit. So I thought, oh, well, on the 1st of September, I'll put some things in the shop. So I have a journal that I put up, and I did a flip through, and someone contacted me and said, can I buy that journal? And I'm like, oh, okay. Then I put that little neutral one up, and someone wanted to buy that, or actually 4 people wanted that. So I'm making 3 more that I already already have. And then I got another email saying they want one as well. So I've got 3 little journals sitting up there that have taken me a long, long time. And I'm going to put a flip through up, and I'm going to say, these are going in my Etsy shop. Otherwise, I won't have anything to put in there. But I have prepared I've done some avocado dyeing, and so I'm going to have some avocado dyed packs and some of the vintage ephemera that I have accumulated. I'm going to put them into packs as well. And I think the New Zealanders will be keen on those, because it is quite hard to find New Zealand ephemera. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Okay, well, check out Kate's Etsy store. It might be sold out, but she'll be working hard behind the scenes making more release.
Yes.
I'm keen on the avocado dyed paper too, actually, so I'll be keeping an eye out for that. I couldn't be bothered doing it. I'd rather buy it from you than make it. Is it messy to do?
It's time consuming. And I have got a lot of very pink spots all over my floor, but that's okay, because it's a tatty concrete floor. And David said, well, we're going to do the floor. And I said, throw some paint on it, because it's going to become a mess. So, but yeah, it is messy because you have to dry it, and yeah, it's kind of a pain, but I know some people don't want to do it. So if it's about, if I can do a whole lot, and
well, hopefully I'll be able to get some when you put it up.
Oh no, I'll put some aside for you.
Keep me, because I just could not be bothered. I would much rather pay you to make it for me. I love coffee dyeing. I do the coffee dyeing, but just getting the pips out of the avocados, I just couldn't. It's a bit like eco dyeing.
All the skins. I've just done a whole lot. And freezing them and then making the brew. Yeah, it'll be better when summer comes.
Yeah. So, Kate, do you have a favourite technique or tool that you like to use?
I was thinking about my favourite tool. Not really. I do like aging things. So I know Marlies was talking about a Tim Holtz tool. I don't have a lot of like the cool tools, if you know what I mean. I use this thing which is for taking the skin off your heels.
Yeah.
I age my stuff with that. That's a tool that gets used a lot. One of the things I really like to do is stenciling with the texture paste, because I love the texture that it adds, but it's not too bulky, and embossing. So my embosser gets used a lot for embossing paper. But yeah, no, I could probably just be fine with a ruler for tearing paper and some wax thread, and I'd be happy with a bit of vintage photo ink.
But it goes to show, doesn't it? We don't need much to start junk journaling or any sort of paper crafting, really. We don't need all the U-Butte things. I mean, they're all nice to have if we can afford them and we use them and don't hoard them. But if anyone's starting out, I guess advice to them would be just have a look around what you've got and just start creating.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thrift, and the thrift shopping. But yeah, I mean, if you've got some coffee and some hot water and some paper and and a few books that you've picked up that you can fussy cut something out of or use, you can make some beautiful, beautiful things. And I to start with, I did make do with a lot of just stuff I had. I did have some scrapbooking things that I have used. But yeah, sometimes you can overbuy, and then you get decision fatigue really quickly. It's like, oh, I don't know what to do now because I've got all the stuff. And I don't know where to start. So sometimes when you just pare it down to basics, you can make some really beautiful things.
It's true. Very true. Have you faced any challenges with regards to your creative journey?
Yeah, I think the challenge is the confidence and that kind of fear of failure that I've had throughout my life from a very young age. And as I've got older, I've learned how to overcome it, I guess. I was going to say suffer, but suffer's not really the word. I've learned to live with anxiety as well. And so that can sometimes be something that is
takes over.
Yeah, it can do. But I think, again, as I've got older, I've learned how to manage a lot of that stuff. And the creative process has helped as well. It's given me a lot more confidence in myself and in my abilities. So overcoming that fear of like, I'm going to make this and it's just going to be a disaster, or no one's going to like it, or and so learning the YouTube thing, just putting it out there and then getting some feedback and someone going, oh, I really enjoyed that video, I learned something from it, and I'm going, oh wow, okay. Because there's always someone who's just starting, isn't there?
There is.
There's a whole lot of people who you go, oh my gosh, they're just incredible artists and I'll never be at that level. But there's also people who are at your own level, but also people who are just starting, and they might find you and go, oh wow, I've really learned something from that video. So you just don't know.
You don't know.
To watch.
And I mean, everyone has different ways of doing things. So many times every day I learn something new from somebody. It's just, and then you think, why didn't I think of that? It's the simple thing, and so I don't think, it doesn't really matter what level we are all at. We all can learn from one another. And that's why I think I started my YouTube channel, is just to share what I've learned, or what I know, or what I've learned from others. And because there's always someone, like you say, that's just starting out that has no idea where to start or what to do. So it doesn't matter what level we are. We can always, feed off one another. So, yeah. And I think, and I've said this before, but you should have confidence in what you do, because your work is beautiful, Kate. It really is. So just keep doing what you're doing. And I know it's hard, though. It's, YouTube's big to put yourself out there. And there's been many a time that I've done a video and I've just deleted it, because I'm just like, who is interested in that? And then I'm getting better at it. I am getting better at it, because I just think, well, if they don't like it, there's so many others.
That is so true, and I think that was one thing I realized. People don't have to tune in, like it's not compulsory.
No.
And saying people don't have to look at your Instagram, so you can put it out there, and if people want to look at it, they can look at it, and if they don't, they can move on. And that's so good, just like we do. If sometimes I'll tune in to watch a video and I'll go, oh no, that's just really not my cup of tea, and I'll just move on. I don't need to make a derogatory comment or do anything like that. I can just move on and watch something that does inspire me or I enjoy. So that's quite a freeing thing, isn't it, to say, you don't have to watch it.
That's right. I think if we keep telling ourselves that, we'll feel a little bit more confident in ourselves by just doing what we do. So keep doing what you're doing. It's great. So you said earlier one of your goals is to maybe be a little bit more consistent with your YouTube and the amount of videos that you put up. Do you have any other future goals with regards to your junk journaling or your creative journey?
I would like to become a little bit faster with my creating, so that I can have a little bit more in my Etsy shop. I think with the Etsy store, if you can do digital creations and pop them in, you've got this kind of thing ticking over. Whereas if you're just not just a maker, but if you're primarily a maker of physical things, it's harder to keep that store stocked up. It's a great problem to have, the fact that things sell. I'm not complaining, but I would like to, just be a little bit faster with what I make. Yeah. And I think one of my big goals I would really like to build a more of a community in New Zealand with the New Zealand artists. And I think slowly people are starting to contact me and say, oh, I'm from here, and, just touching base and stuff like that. So, I think that might be a good goal. And I would like to do a little retreat here somewhere But like my sister, and she does some junk journaling as well. She lives in Whangarei, which is far north. And I know someone else, Lily, who lives down in Bluff, which is like the other end. It's a small country, but that's still a long way to travel. So it's like, how do you create that community when people are so far apart?
Away. Yeah. So is Hawke's Bay very big? Like, what's the population there?
That's a really good question. No, it's not very big.
Not big.
It's like two cities sort of near each other. So honestly, I don't know.
No, that's okay. I was just thinking, it would be hard to know where, if they're scattered everywhere, where the point would be,
Yeah, that's right.
Depend, I suppose, how far, if you were organising it, how far you would be prepared to travel, and the venue and what's provided by the venue.
Yeah, exactly.
There's think about, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's quite huge, but it's something I would love to do. So
it's a lovely thing to think of, and if you I'm sure something will pop up.
Yeah,
I'm sure it will.
It'll happen.
Yeah, well, Kate, if you could offer one piece of advice to us fellow creators, what would that be?
I think it would be, and this might be a little bit controversial, if you see something that you love that someone's made, copy it. And I don't mean copy it and then put it out there as something that you made. Like, I know there's a whole lot of stuff around that, but I mean, I've done that. I've seen something someone's made and I've saved it and I've looked at it, or I've seen it on YouTube and I've gone and I've got the stuff and I've made it. And I learned so much through that process about how that was made, how it looked. Then maybe I've changed a little bit to make it more sort of my style, or I've had to go, oh, well, I don't have that, I'm going to use this instead. So that's a lot of how I've learned. I mean, seeing something someone's made, loving it, and going, oh, I'm going to make that.
Yeah.
And then I might not have photographed it, and then, or sometimes I have. I've said I remember one time I talked to an artist, said, I've made something that you've made. Are you okay if I pop it up on Instagram as long as I acknowledge it? And they went, of course. And I would say, if I've made anything that anyone wanted to do, just copy it. I mean, I wouldn't put it out there if I wanted to keep it to myself. I'd love to share it.
Well, how do we learn? And I think so long as we give credit where credit's due, I don't see anything wrong with that. And like you said, it might not end up being exactly the same. You don't have exactly the same product, so you put a different spin on it because you're using something different, and then it grows from that. So I think I'm with you on that. I think, if you see something you like, copy it, put your own spin on it, but just give credit where credit's due. That's how we all learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think we're almost wrapping up with all the questions, Kate. It's been really lovely getting to know you a little bit better. But before we head off, I'd like to ask if you have a favourite quote or affirmation that you'd like to share with us.
I do. One of the ones that I try and remember is, what other people think or say about you is none of your business. In other words, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. I mean, unless they tell you, you don't know anyway, but don't worry about it. Just do you, and don't worry about what anyone else thinks.
Because you know who you are.
Sorry, what's that?
Because you know who you are,
Yeah. Be authentically you. It doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. And I think for me, that's been really important to just, because a lot of people don't really get what I make or what I do. They'll go, so what is it for? What do people do with it? And so there's a lot of kind of people just going, what do you even do with your life, with your days? So I have to go, it doesn't matter what they think. I love it. It serves a purpose. People use these or turn them into something that they want it to be. So don't worry about what other people think about you.
Right. But it's funny, isn't it? I love it when you try to explain to people what you do, what you make, and you can just see them, their eyes glaze over and they're just gone. They're just they're nodding their head, but they have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I know. So funny. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much once again. It's been lovely having you on, and I really appreciate you popping in. I think you were originally going to just do the blog, but I'm glad that we can see you face to face. And thank you so much as well for all your work you're doing on the creative design team. I love what you're producing, so it's beautiful.
Well, I could be faster, Sue. I know that. And I can,
I'm not fast either. See what I mean? I mean, if I didn't edit, my videos would be 5 hours long, so it's all right. I get it. So, but check out. Yeah, no, it's lovely. Check out Kate's social media platforms and also her Etsy shop. Hopefully, you've sold out. But keep an eye on her shop because she will restock. So, so thank you. Yes, we'll say goodbye and keep in touch. And I hope you get creative and make lots of little journals. I'm keen to get one.
Thanks so much, Sue. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'll say goodbye and we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.